You might think being a makeup artist is a simple job, a bit of powder, a few brush strokes, and some satisfied smiles. But sometimes, clients don't leave behind words of thanks. They leave behind a curse. And sometimes, the mirror doesn't reflect the person you think you are. Welcome to a world where beauty can conceal the most terrifying things. In today's video, you'll hear 3 chilling stories, all starting with an ordinary makeup session and ending with disappearance, replacement, or a soul being swapped. If you love stories that send chills down your spine and make you look at the mirror differently, subscribe to the channel now. It's the best way to support me in telling even more horrifying tales. Thank you so much for spending your time here. Every subscription is a motivation for me to dive deeper into the stories no one dares to tell. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and make sure you know exactly who's sitting in the mirror. Jenna Clay was a freelance makeup artist living in Pittsburgh, a city with more lights than stars and more promises than closures. She was 29 years old, had no close friends, no lover, and no one waiting for her at home except a cat named Salem. Her job introduced her to all kinds of people, from stressed-out brides to indie directors who believed their faces were works of art that must be preserved. But Jenna had one unbreakable rule: no appointments after 9 p.m., except for that night. While cleaning her tools after a regular client, her phone buzzed. The screen showed an unknown number, just the words, "Unknown caller." Jenna was about to ignore it, but the voice that came through made her pause. "Miss Jenna? I need urgent makeup, very urgent. Can you come before 11 tonight?" A woman's voice, low and raspy, like a wire scraping through a throat. The tone was slow, cold, and emotionless. I don't take late appointments," Jenna replied, though the hesitation was already in her voice. "Double the rate. I have a family ceremony. Very important." Then silence, the kind that made Jenna feel watched through the phone. She bit her lip, hesitating. Her electric bill had gone up this month, and the fixed airbrush machine she needed was on sale until the end of the week. "All right," Jenna exhaled. "Send me the address." The message came immediately. It was an old apartment complex on the edge of the city, where the streetlights were sparse, the map faded, and the paths twisted like a maze. 10:26 p.m., Jenna stood before apartment 4A. No doorbell, no hallway light. Just a wooden door slightly ajar, as if someone had been waiting. She knocked softly. No response. "Hello?" Jenna called gently, then stepped inside. The smell stopped her in her tracks. A thick blend of incense, old clothes, and damp earth, as if she had just walked into a basement sealed for years. The door shut behind her with a click, not from a breeze, but as if someone had decided to lock her in. At that moment, Jenna didn't yet know she would be the last person to cross that threshold that night. Apartment 4A was darker than any place Jenna had ever stepped into. And not because it lacked light. There was light. A single round bulb, dim yellow, hanging from the ceiling like an ancient eye observing her. But that light didn't illuminate anything. It only blurred everything, casting shadows that had shapes. The living room was small. The old wooden floor creaked under her steps. On the table was a cup of tea, long gone cold, emitting a strange, slightly metallic herbal scent. The curtains were fully drawn, yet swayed gently, as if someone had just passed by. No TV sounds, no music, just the ticking of a clock somewhere, slow and heavy. "I'm Jenna," she called out, trying to stay calm. "I'm here to do your makeup." No reply. She was about to turn back when a voice rose from behind the curtain. "Come in, I'm here." Startled, Jenna turned. A woman stepped out from behind the drape. Tall, thin, her skin so pale that every vein stood out under the light. Her long hair was tangled like it hadn't been brushed in years. Her eyes were deep-set and hollow, as if sleep had been stolen from her long ago. "Where would you like to sit?" Jenna asked, voice slightly trembling. "By the mirror." The mirror. It stood in the corner of the room, facing a worn-out red velvet chair. The mirror was old, its black wooden frame carved with twisted patterns that looked like dried roots. The surface of the mirror was dim, as if covered in a fine dust, but not dirty. As the woman sat down, Jenna took out her brushes, sponges, and palette. But the more she worked, the stranger things felt. The client's skin wouldn't absorb the foundation. Even with moisturizer, her skin's surface remained dry, almost spongy, like applying makeup to paper. "Do you have any allergies to cosmetics?" Jenna asked politely. The woman didn't reply. She just stared into the mirror, unmoving, like a statue. And then Jenna noticed something was off in the reflection. She could see herself working. But the woman, in the mirror, her eyes weren't closed. She wasn't bowing her head like in reality. The figure in the mirror was looking straight at Jenna, looking and smiling. Outside the mirror, the woman remained still, but inside, that smile was growing, lips curving upward, eyes unblinking. Jenna swallowed hard and took a step back. She turned to look directly at her client, still, unmoving. But in the mirror, something else was starting to take her place, and Jenna began to understand. The thing in this room wasn't here to be beautified. It was here to be seen. Jenna didn't know how long she had been standing there, one hand holding a brush, the other limp at her side, her eyes locked on the old mirror as if hypnotized. Inside the mirror, her reflection was still there. But the client was no longer sitting still. The figure in the mirror, the thing in the mirror, was moving slowly. It tilted its head, little by little, at an unnatural angle, a jerky, sliding motion, like bones being pulled out of their joints. And then, it raised its hand and gave a slight wave to Jenna. In real life, the woman remained motionless. Jenna blinked, took another step back, her heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. The air in the room suddenly thickened, heavy like smoke, though there was no smell. She leaned in to switch off the light, but when she turned back, the mirror was empty. No her, no client, just an old room with a torn red velvet chair, completely vacant. Jenna spun around. The woman was still sitting there, but something had changed. Her lips had curled into a thin smile, like a slit. "Are you all right?" Jenna stammered. "I used to be beautiful," the woman said. Her voice was no longer raspy, but clear, echoing, and not synced with the movement of her lips. "I've prepared for this moment for many years, for someone to come, close enough, patient enough, to open that door." "What door?" "The mirror." Then she stood up, slowly, stiffly, like a puppet pulled by strings. As she stepped out of the light, Jenna shivered. The woman's face truly had no skin, not entirely, at least. The layer of makeup from before was now peeling off, tearing in patches, revealing beneath it something like wax, like ash, or a decaying substance that had no name. Jenna backed toward the door. Her hand shook as she fumbled for the handle, but it wouldn't open. Not locked, but still wouldn't budge, as if the room itself had decided to keep her inside. Behind her, the mirror made a sound, a crackling noise, like something was splitting. Jenna turned. The surface of the mirror was cracking from the center, forming a dark crevice, And in that crevice, there were eyes. A pair of eyes staring directly at her from the other side. Not a reflection, not an image. Someone was standing behind the mirror. "Do you want to be beautiful forever?" the voice asked. This time, it echoed from both directions, in the room and inside her head. Jenna didn't answer. She screamed. But the room didn't echo back. It was as if the sound had been swallowed whole. She turned and slammed into the door. Once, twice. Blood trickled from her forehead. The ceiling bulb flickered, and when she turned back, the woman was gone. Only the mirror remained, and in it, Jenna saw herself, still doing makeup, brush in hand, smiling. The next day, apartment 4A was found abandoned. No furniture, no chair, no mirror. Only a thin layer of dust covered the floor, as if no one had lived there for many years. Jenna's phone was found 3 blocks away, screen still lit. The messaging app showed her last message, sent at 10:28 p.m. "I'm here. Apartment 4A, right?" After that, nothing. No one could reach her. No camera ever recorded her leaving the building. Jenna Clay, 29 years old, freelance makeup artist, was officially missing. A week later, her social media account suddenly became active again. She posted a video. No voice, no caption. Just an image of Jenna, or something that looked like Jenna, standing in front of a mirror, putting makeup on herself. The lighting in the video was dim, shadowy. Her hand moved slowly, stiffly, as if no longer human. She smiled. The smile lasted too long, stretched too wide. Viewers noticed something strange. In the mirror, Jenna was still applying makeup, but the Jenna outside stood completely still, unblinking, her lips pressed tightly, not moving at all. Comments were disabled just 10 minutes after the post. An hour later, the account vanished from all platforms. Jenna was never found. No trace, no evidence, no explanation. Only a rumor remained. If you look into the mirror at midnight and see yourself putting on makeup, but don't remember doing it, don't look away, because the thing inside already knows who you are. Monica Lane didn't like working after 10 p.m. She had once done makeup for celebrities, brides, even fashion models. But not once had the clock struck 11 with a brush still in her hand. For Monica, nighttime was meant for rest and for things that shouldn't happen in silence. But the name Mrs. Hartley calling at 9:47 p.m. changed everything. "I urgently need a makeup artist at home. Family wedding. The girl will arrive late and she can't show up barefaced. Please." The voice was elegant, polite, but there was something unnatural about it, as if someone were reading lines from a script. Monica, though hesitant, agreed. The address was an old-style mansion nestled deep in the silent suburbs, where GPS began to falter and streetlights slowly vanished. When she arrived, the clock struck exactly 10:59. It wasn't raining, but there was fog. The lights in the mansion were off except for a small flickering candle behind the ground floor window. The door opened before she could knock. "Come in," a woman's voice called from inside. The house smelled of rotting wood and overwhelmingly strong lavender, the kind of old scent often found in nursing homes. Monica stepped in, the door closing behind her with a soft click, as if on its own. The woman, dressed in black, hair tied in a tight bun, stood by the stairs and led her to the second floor without saying another word. The makeup room was at the end of the hallway, a large room with heavy velvet curtains and a tall mirror placed in the center of the wall. "The girl will be here in a few minutes. Get ready," she said, then shut the door, leaving Monica alone. She turned on the light, but the ceiling light didn't reach the surface of the mirror, as if the glass refused to reflect. Monica sat down and began laying out her tools. And then, when she looked up, she saw herself in the mirror, but the reflection blinked a beat too slow. Monica held her breath. She stared into the image in the mirror, trying to make sense of what she had just seen. Maybe it was eye strain, maybe it was the lighting, but her instincts were pounding like war drums. Something wasn't right. The reflection, Monica, was still looking at her. But those eyes, they didn't look like hers. Wider, wider, expressionless, as if they were observing, not reflecting. She blinked again. The figure in the mirror blinked a half-beat slower. Monica stood up and walked closer to the mirror, reaching out to wipe the thin layer of dust on the surface. When her finger touched the glass, a chill shot through her skin. Not the cold of glass, but the cold of something, alive behind it. She yanked her hand back. No fingerprint was left on the mirror, only that face, still staring at her, unblinking. "Maybe I'm just too stressed," Monica whispered, trying to calm herself. She turned back to the vanity, pulling out brushes, sponges, and foundation. At this point, she just wanted to finish quickly, get paid, and leave. Then came a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. 3 steady taps. "Come in," Monica said, standing. The door opened, but no one entered. The hallway was empty. She stepped out, looked both ways. No one. She closed the door again, a chill crawling up her spine. And when she turned back into the room, she froze. The mirror had been moved to the center of the room, rotated 180 degrees. Now it faced the large window directly, where moonlight streamed in. Monica was certain it had been flat against the wall moments ago. She had heard no sound of it moving, and she was alone. The atmosphere in the room shifted, heavier. Each step now creaked louder underfoot. A clock somewhere in the house began to tick slowly, like a countdown. She approached the mirror once more, but this time she didn't see herself. She saw a different room. The darkness in the mirror was deep, like a bottomless hallway. And at the far end of that hallway, a shadow was walking toward her, slowly, very slowly. There was no sound, no footsteps, but the image in the mirror moved, not Monica's movement, not anyone in the room. And then the knock came again, but this time from inside the mirror. She stepped back. Her hand hit the table, knocking over a bottle of foundation. The crash of glass startled her, and in that instant, the image in the mirror vanished. Now, the mirror reflected the room as it was. Monica, pale-faced, breath shallow, but she wasn't moving. She was backing away, but the image in the mirror stood still, smiling ever so slightly, a smile that didn't exist in her mind. Monica stood frozen. She couldn't take her eyes off the image in the mirror. The thing that looked like her wore her face, but remained still, smiling while she was gasping for breath, panicked. That smile wasn't formed by any muscle in her face, yet it existed, quiet, like a crack waiting to split wide open. She turned instinctively to avoid looking at the mirror, but then came a soft laugh behind her that made her blood turn to ice. Not loud, not clear, just a faint giggle, soft, dripping, like a child playing hide and seek. She spun around. The mirror was now fogged over, as though mist had formed on the inside. And then, like someone had exhaled from the other side, a handprint appeared on the glass from within. 5 long fingers, nails sharp. They moved gently in a spiral motion and stopped. At the center of the mirror, an eye opened, jet black, no white, no eyelid, no reflection. It looked at Monica, unblinking. She stumbled backwards, slamming into a chair, nearly falling. Her hands fumbled for her purse, searching for her phone, anything that could provide light or call for help. But her phone wasn't there. She was sure she had brought it. The room's light flickered. The ceiling bulb trembled slightly. And from the mirror, a hairline crack began spreading out from the black eye. Crack. A tiny shard fell to the floor. Monica screamed. She lunged at the door, grabbed the handle. Wouldn't open, locked from the outside. The laughter from the mirror rang out again. This time, no longer soft. It was a woman's voice, deep and echoing, as if from the bottom of a well. You're the first to see it without turning away. Then slowly, within the mirror, a figure appeared. The face wasn't clear, but the body was slender, wearing the same head wrap as Monica. It held a makeup brush and began painting its face. No, not its face. Monica's face. Every stroke of powder, every line of makeup exactly matched what Monica had done earlier in the room. A perfect replication. And when the makeup was finished, the figure lifted its head, smiled. This time, Monica in the mirror smiled too. Outside the mirror, Monica felt her face burning, as if on fire. She looked at the mirror. Blood dripped from the corners of her eyes, but she felt no pain. Only loss of control. The mirror shook. A long cracking sound echoed through the room. You're prettier than I was, so now, I'll keep that face for you. And Monica saw herself walking toward the mirror. Only, it wasn't her doing it. Monica Lane was found the next morning, sitting motionless in the second-floor room of the Hartley mansion. She didn't speak, didn't react. Her eyes were wide open, staring at the empty wall where the tall mirror used to be. The police never found that mirror. The homeowner, Mrs. Hartley, denied everything. I never called for a makeup artist. I live alone. That room's been locked for years. Strangely, Monica had no signs of injury. Her heartbeat was normal. Her vitals were stable. But she no longer recognized anyone. When her family called her name, she only tilted her head and smiled. The kind of smile with no emotion that psychiatrists refer to as a false response. They scanned her brain, CT, MRI, and ran hormone tests. Everything was normal, except for one thing. Every time she saw a mirror, Monica would begin talking, not to people, but to her reflection. And only in the mirror did her lips move. When hospital staff tried to cover the mirrors, she clawed at them until their hands bled. A few weeks later, she began scrawling words in lipstick across the glass of her hospital window. I am not her. I'm just the copy. She's still over there. One night, the surveillance camera in her room began flickering abnormally. When the medical team entered, Monica was gone. The window was locked. There were no signs of escape. Only the small, old mirror she had brought with her, neatly resting on the table. Its surface was spotless, crystal clear. And if someone were brave enough to look closely, they'd see Monica, smiling back from the other side. Taylor Grant used to work with the biggest names in the horror film industry. She knew how to beautify a bruised face, how to pick the right lipstick shade under neon lights, and most importantly, how to stay silent about her clients. But even after working on the strangest sets, Taylor had never felt the kind of unease she did when she received that call. It came at 11:08 p.m., just as she was wiping her brushes and about to turn off the lights. Is this Ms. Taylor Grant? A woman's voice, soft, even, devoid of inflection, as if pre-recorded. I need urgent makeup, family funeral, midnight. I'll pay up front via Venmo. Taylor was about to decline. Then her phone chime tinged, notifying her of a $400 transfer. No message, no note, just money. The address included was for a location nearly 30 minutes outside the city, a neighborhood locals referred to as the Hollow, where an old church once stood, along with an abandoned cemetery and some scorched apartment buildings left from the 1980s. Taylor wasn't superstitious. She had worked in morgues, had done makeup on real corpses for reenactment films. But this time, something compelled her to go. The sky was murky. No rain, but the fog was thick, like damp fabric hanging in the air. Her car's headlights barely lit more than a few feet ahead before being swallowed by the dark. The dirt road from Google Maps twisted sharply, the trees leaning low as if whispering secrets to each other. Then, Taylor stopped the car. In front of her stood a 2-story house with a pointed roof, peeling paint, and a wooden door hanging loosely off its hinges. No lights, no cars, no people. She checked the address again. Right number, right street. The house stood there as if it had been waiting for her, and then, from inside, as if in answer to her hesitation, a soft yellow light flickered on in the second-floor window. Taylor took a deep breath, grabbed her makeup kit, and stepped out of the car. Through the dense fog, her footsteps echoed in solitude, striking the damp earth with a somber rhythm. She crossed a cracked stone path, flanked by knee-high weeds. Each step gave off a small crunching sound, as if something was being crushed beneath her shoes, bird bones, or worse. When her hand touched the rotting wooden doorknob, Taylor realized it wasn't locked. The door creaked open slowly, the hinges groaning like an old man whispering in his sleep. Inside, the house was pitch black, save for the dim yellow glow filtering down from the upstairs landing. The air reeked of mold, ashes, and scorched resin, the familiar scent of a crime scene recreated on a film set. "Hello?" Taylor called out, her voice echoing weakly. No reply. But at the end of the hallway, a crooked picture frame hung on the wall. In the dim light, she saw it was a black and white portrait. A woman with long hair, wearing an old wedding gown, her face blurred, yet somehow familiar. She stepped closer, her heart clenched. The woman in the photo was her, or at least someone who looked exactly like her. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, every feature mirrored her own. She stumbled back, nearly tripping, and turned to leave. Thud. A soft sound from upstairs, like someone had dropped something light from a table. She hesitated, still clutching her makeup kit like it might somehow protect her. "This is just some weird rich client's joke," she muttered to herself. And then, a voice whispered, soft as breath on her neck. "Second room on the left." She spun around. No one there. Only the empty hallway, peeling walls, and the slow ticking of a clock from somewhere above. Taylor tightened her grip on the kit and climbed the stairs. Each wooden step groaned in protest. She stopped before the second door on the left. It was slightly ajar. A weak yellow light spilled through the crack. She raised her hand to knock, but the door opened before she touched it. Inside was an old room, but it was decorated like a bridal suite. White lace curtains, a vanity table, dried flowers in a silver vase, and sitting in the chair was the woman from the photo, skin pale as paper, hair falling across most of her face. She didn't turn her head, but she spoke. "You've arrived." Taylor stood frozen in the doorway, her grip on the makeup kit so tight her knuckles had turned white. In the dim glow of an antique bedside lamp, the woman sat with her back turned, motionless, as if she had been sitting there for a very long time. Waiting. You're the one who called me?" Taylor spoke, though her voice felt lost in the fog. The woman didn't answer right away. After several long seconds of silence, she gave a slight nod, just enough for her hair to shift to the side, revealing part of her face. Her skin was pale like wax, its texture uneven, like melted candle drippings. There was a faint crack along her neck, not a wrinkle, but a fracture, like in an old statue. Taylor swallowed hard. She had never seen anyone like this, because this woman did not resemble someone alive. "Do the makeup," the woman said. Her voice was airy, yet it echoed like it came from a basement. Taylor wanted to run. Every instinct screamed like a fire alarm, but something held her in place. The air in the room felt thick, anchoring her there. She stepped forward, sitting in the chair across from the client, and began opening her kit. Each time Taylor lifted a brush, her hand trembled, but the woman remained still. Her eyes were fixed on the mirror, the large one centered on the vanity, its wooden frame blackened with age, a crack spreading from one corner. And in the mirror, Taylor saw no reflection of the client, only herself, alone. She frowned, turned toward the woman who was still sitting there. She looked back at the mirror. This time, there were two figures. One was her. The other stood behind her. The face was unclear. A figure in a torn wedding dress, hair covering the face, arms long and reaching, almost touching Taylor's shoulders in the reflection. She whipped around. No one was behind her. The woman tilted her head slightly. "You saw it, didn't you? You look like me. Very much." Taylor's breathing quickened. "Look like... what? Like me? Before I died?" A chilling silence. "But don't worry. I don't want your face." The woman turned her head fully now, revealing her face completely. The left side was human. The right, like a broken statue, deathly pale, eye blank, and the corner of her mouth torn up to her ear. She whispered, "I just need someone to stay, so I can go." The mirror trembled. In its reflection, Taylor's image began to blur, distort, then melt, like wax beneath a flame. Taylor shot up from the chair. The makeup brush slipped from her hand, rolling to the woman's feet. But the woman didn't bend to pick it up. She only watched Taylor through the mirror, her eyes empty like still water. I'm not staying," Taylor whispered, backing slowly toward the door. "It's too late," the woman's voice echoed, though her lips didn't move. The mirror began to shudder in pulses, as if something was trying to break through from the other side. Cracks spidered out across the glass, each one making a shrieking sound like metal scraping metal. Then, from the very center of the mirror, a pale hand, thin, elongated, broke through a crack, reaching into the room. Taylor turned and ran. The stairs seemed longer than before. Each step felt like stone. The air was dense, as though the house itself was breathing, and she was being swallowed into its lungs. She reached the front door. Cold wind slapped her face, carrying the scent of wet ashes and funeral flowers. She sprinted to her car, hands trembling as she jammed the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. The headlights flicked on, illuminating the house behind her. The second floor, the room she had just fled, it was now dark. But just before she turned away to drive off, Taylor saw a figure standing behind the curtain, tall, thin, head tilted slightly, smiling. The next morning, the police arrived to investigate after Taylor filed a report, but the address, according to official records, belonged to a house abandoned for 32 years following a fire that had killed the entire family. No electricity, no furniture, no record of anyone requesting a makeup artist. Only a scorched, antique mirror lay on the wooden floor of the second story, and in the reflection of that mirror was Taylor, still sitting, brush in hand, smiling. Three stories, three faces, and perhaps 3 endings you'll still be thinking about the next time you look into the mirror before bed. If you're still listening at this point, thank you, truly, for taking the time to step into a world darker than the spotlight and deeper than any layer of makeup. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chilling tale. Every subscription is a key that opens another door. It might be the door to your bedroom, or the door to another dimension. Are you ready to keep listening? See you in the next video. If you're still on this side of the mirror,